Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs. Hello, and welcome to episode 2. This one is all about resistance. Whether it's resistance in your life, resistance in your business. In this episode, Tony and I talked about so much stuff. You're going to learn a lot. We talked about what happens when your energy is rising up, what signs will appear when you're growing, the reason why people do resist you when you are growing, why haters act the way they do, why resistance is actually a good thing for you, what resistance is and where it shows up in your life, how your time alone can prepare you for when resistance shows up, and we give you tons of action steps to really prepare for resistance. We hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, everyone. We're so excited that you're here. Today we are in episode 2 and we are talking about resistance, which is a natural part of life. Especially if you're a business owner, you're going to experience resistance and it could easily stop your faith in your business. Don't you feel like with anything that we do?
It could stop your faith in anything, resistance, when it comes up. Whether it comes up in your body, within yourself, or whether it comes up from all the people around you, or like it came up with us right before we pressed play with the technology. So
yeah, we had some technology.
Right. So resistance could pop up anywhere, and that's what it does, because like we established before, everything is energy. So the resistance energy could manifest in anything.
Yeah. And I feel like it's funny because we were doing the show, like the first episode that we did, we actually had parts of it we had to re-record because it all just did not record. And we're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And one of the things that comes up, I feel like, with life is you're going to have these points in your life where you feel like you're rising up. And that's exactly when you're going to meet resistance. And Tony and I, we love Bob Proctor. And one of his videos is the law of non-resistance. And he uses the example of the airplane going up in the air and, you know, the pilot flying up, and easily the pilot could stop flying once he hits those air pockets and the plane starts shaking and he gets turbulence, but instead he knows what to expect. And it's just a smooth ride once he gets past that, because there's a law that will try to push you back down as you're rising.
Right, so as the plane's rising up, it's experiencing that resistance, like you were saying, from the wind, and then all of a sudden it'll reach levels to where it's smooth sailing again, and then human nature, what happens is you reach another level, and then you start to break off from that level, and then you have a whole new episode of resistance. So this is like a never-ending cycle because of the fact that everything is energy, and when energy grows, the nature of energy is the resistance starts to happen. So the resistance starts to happen, and this, with a lot of people, it happens on an unconscious level. So like, you know, Lindsay, and like we've experienced in our lives, and people that we've talked to they'll experience resistance from the people closest to them, and you know, people who know who they are.
Yeah.
Like, if I go hang out with somebody who I hung out with in middle school, but I haven't hung out with since, obviously I'm a whole new person than what I was then, right? And when they meet up with me, it's something in our energy that will kind of resist that. And it happens with us too, but we understand what it is because we're aware of it. So we don't let it play into, we don't let it dictate what actions we do, right?
That's true. But I have to say too, I feel like if those of you who are listening, Tony has been a cheerleader for me in my business. And when I was teaching and I left teaching, I think people were so used to me kind of being behind the scenes. And when I put myself out there online, I was really extra sensitive. And I had some situations come up, and I feel like it's important to bring up because it's real and it really did happen. But it was the people that I would least expect to resist against me putting myself out there as a business owner, that resisted that. And I was really sensitive. I was totally like reacting to it. I felt really upset and disappointed. I was sharing something on social media, and a friend of mine was like, well, all you do is promote yourself. And I was like, what? And I started to second guess my business, really. And Tony's like, you can't take it personal. You know about this law, the law of non-resistance. I'm like, yeah, I know about it, but actually being able to master that and not be affected by it is totally different. So if you are listening and you do have a business, or you're just a human being trying to do better for yourself, and you're, raising up, you're excited, you have a new task that you're doing, and you're like, oh, this is my dream, I'm actually doing it. And then all of a sudden you feel like you're meeting with so much stuff, like all these obstacles in your way. Just think of that as a signpost that, oh my gosh, I'm rising up. There's movement happening. And don't go against it, just go with it, right? Is that what you, because I don't even remember the advice that you used to tell me. Like at the time, I didn't even want to hear it. Because
Exactly.
when you're expected, sorry,
No,
when
you're
you're
good.
actually, when you're actually experiencing the resistance, I feel like there's a couple different modes you could be in, like reactive, where you're like, I can't believe this is happening to me, and you want to talk about it all the time. And then there's other modes where you could feel really sad. And then I guess there's a third one where you feel like, you know what? This is interesting. Like you said, just look at it like, this is interesting. Okay, I understand this is happening. Let me move along.
Right, and that's what you have to do. Because it is a law. This is a law of nature, the same way as we were sitting here, and gravity is the law that's causing us to stay stuck to the planet. Resistance is actually
Yeah.
another law that you will experience. You'll experience whether you're growing or not. You'll experience it in different ways, but oftentimes it happens with a lot of you who are listening. I have a feeling that you all are people that actually grow at a fast rate. Like you're growing every single day. That's why you're listening to this right now. I've found in my experience with talking with people and just observing it that those type of people actually experience the most resistance.
That's so true.
The people that are growing every single day. So it is, like Lindsay said, it is very important to look at it as a good thing. As hard as that can be in the moment, like when Lindsay was going through what she went through, and when we all go through this.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you get caught up in the mode, and you need somebody, whether it's your husband or wife or friend, you need somebody close by, which is why the power of a mastermind or the power of connecting with people is so valuable. You need those people to remind you what the truth is.
Put you in check.
And put you in check and help you to change your perspective to where you look at that resistance that you might be getting from your parents or your uncles or aunts or friends or whoever it may be. You look at it as something that is actually valuable to you, because it's a universe saying, hey, look, you're growing. You're growing. And that's the way that you have to look at it. And I believe that the way to prepare for that is actually what you're doing right now, is educating yourself on this and actually preparing for all of this before it actually even happens. That way you're ready to do what you need to do to actually make the most of the experience.
That's so true. And when you were just talking, we usually in real life outside of the podcast, I feel like we cut each other off. So this is actually really good that we're doing a podcast together, because I have to wait for you to finish talking so they could actually hear me talk.
Right.
But I wanted to cut you off right there because sometimes like, can you stop talking, Tony? Just stop and listen. And he does the same thing to me. But I love it. But one of the things, that's why I love you. We're very similar in those ways. But I feel like I just thought of something when you were talking, and it reminded me of the reason why people do resist you when you're growing is because it makes them face the fact that, wait a second, I'm not growing and I'm not at the same vibration at that moment. And it makes them look at themselves in the mirror and think, I feel inadequate, which they shouldn't, because it might not be their time to grow. But it's like this natural instinct inside of them that just doesn't feel comfortable. And they might not even know they're doing different things. Like a lot of the times, I feel like Les Brown, I love him, and we listen to him. You listen to him a lot too. he talks about, sometimes he had to separate himself from those people so that he could grow up and go higher and they're kind of fallen away in his life, and then the right people will come back in, which that happened to me, luckily. The people that did fall away at first came back in.
Right. Because in the end, they love you. It's not,
Yeah.
these people are not doing this to you to cause pain or to cause harm. I mean, some might be, but most, it's like you said just recently, it's an unconscious thing to
Yeah.
where if it's unconscious, they don't really know. A lot of them, if they're not aware of this idea in human nature, if you're not aware of how humans tend to operate, then when this does happen, you don't really know why you're feeling this way. You don't know why when you left this particular person you felt lower about yourself,
Yeah.
even though they didn't do anything but be positive to you. But it's an unconscious thing to where if you're not aware of this, it'll cause you to start acting in a way that haters act, right? That's like
Yeah.
the term that a lot of people throw around now is like haters. Well, the reason why haters act like that is because of the fact that when this unconscious feeling gets to them of insecurities and whatever it may be because of their friend is rising up or their boyfriend or husband is rising up, they allow that feeling to dictate their actions, and then they start to act outside of who they truly
Yeah.
are, which is what a lot
Yeah.
of people call ego.
Yeah. And then they try to pick things apart that aren't even really there. I know, like, you've had a personal experience where something came up where, you know, both of us, Tony and I, we were people that we like to party. Like, I feel like in college, both of us had the same thing going on. We like to be social and that sort of thing. But when someone looks at you, like Tony said, in college years or middle school years, and they think of you like that, and then when we go and do a video podcast or make self-help videos online, then they might bring up the past, and
Right.
that's something that
Well, that's the image that will probably pop in their head because it's their snapshot image of who they think you are.
right.
When in the end, everybody is somebody different every second.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly changing. That's a fact right there. Every second you're constantly changing. You're either getting better or worse. There's really no in between. There's no way in this life to where you could be neutral. So with that fact being said, this snapshot image we have of anybody, the snapshot image you have of yourself is actually the most valuable image because what you think of yourself is the most important, as a lot of you know, but the snapshot image you have of your mom or your dad or anybody is actually not who they really are.
Yeah.
If that
Yeah,
makes
there's
sense.
a vibration that we're putting out, whatever it is that we're believing, and our perception could be totally broken. I could look at you, Tony, and think one thing, and someone else could look at you and think of another. But it really is, and we talked about this in the first episode about the lens that you look through, how everything is perceived
It's
differently
all through your
too.
belief systems, right? It's all how you see things. So you could have somebody like Mother Teresa doing all of this great stuff, and if another person watching this has a belief that is I don't know specifically, but like something that's negative,
Like she's doing it for money or
right?
charity
So they
or
might
something.
have this negative belief system built around where they process that and they have this thing in their head like, oh, she's doing it for some kind of motive like that,
Yeah.
which is obviously not the case.
Well, that just reminded me of something. I don't even remember where I heard this, but I guess it's in my subconscious mind if it's coming up. But there was one time that I was talking to someone. I might have shared it with you. And it was mediumship. And they were saying, well, she's doing it for money. And I'm thinking, okay, if I was going to do mediumship, if I was going to do anything for money, it wouldn't be mediumship because mediumship isn't easy. It's not an easy life to live when you're serving people. And there's a lot of things being thrown around about mediumship and how mediumship, it's taking advantage of the grieving, which is untrue. And I
Right.
know that, so I'm not affected by it.
Well, not all. That's the people that are thinking this way have a belief about money that money is a bad thing. And that's why
Exactly.
they're filtering this. When in the end, money is just an exchange of energy. It's paper that says, "Hey, Lindsay, you're the medium.
Yeah.
Thank you for uplifting and changing my life." With which obviously you're doing because your business keeps growing, your customer base is happy, and the word of mouth
Yeah.
is the biggest thing because of the fact that you're really helping people.
Yeah.
And when you really help people, it's okay to have that money. So that's once again going back. That's their belief system that's processing
Exactly.
something that somebody's doing something good in the world. They're processing it and twisting it in a bad way, and that's where a lot of this resistance comes in. Is there's levels to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime somebody's on level 1 and they're observing people who are on level 8, whether it's financially or spiritually or relationship wise, there's levels to everything, and these levels cause the resistance, and the resistance is actually a good thing because it helps to bump us up levels if
Yeah.
we're aware of it and we use it in an empowering way.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, it could actually cause us to go down several levels
Yeah.
if we don't understand how to
I
make the
know.
most of resistance. So let's think about what resistance is and where does it show up. Well, it shows up like we've been talking about in with the people around you.
Yeah.
So you might get that from the people around you. But guess what? The number one resistance I found to be some of the most powerful resistance is actually within yourself.
Yeah.
So-
I felt like that too.
Right? Anytime you go outside your comfort zone, you're going to experience resistance within your body as well, which is another huge thing to understand. When that energy comes, what do I do with that resistance?
Yeah.
Do I let it
Fester.
fester, let it boil up in there and move me 3 steps back, or do I use that energy in a productive way to move me a couple levels up?
Yeah. And I feel like that's a really good point because it can propel us up. Like I know you always give the example about when you used to play basketball in high school, you're really good at basketball. And you used to use that like competitive feeling when you experienced it or someone was talking to you on the court trying to like affect you. You're like,
Right.
yeah, you used it to really propel yourself up.
Right, because I didn't talk trash. I guess I did sometimes.
I could see you.
Well, I did sometimes, but in recreational, like when I was playing for middle school and all that, I was always like real professional about it. Because I was at a real big basketball school to where they kind of had that expectation about you. But I would just not say anything, and I would just kind of keep this centered and use it to just propel me. I'd use it as energy.
Yeah.
And then it would come into me, and I'd burn it off into something productive.
That's kind of what ended up I think so many conversations that we talk about all the time about resistance. This is like a topic we always talk about, which is a good thing to talk about. It's helped me in my business too, because I feel like, you know what? Like I just got to go with what's good for me, but not only good for me, good for the higher consciousness of people around me and the universe and doing things. So when I do anything with my business, I feel like I have to just be in the zone. I think it's just staying in the zone and staying in your own lane and focusing and not focusing on that other side of things and being, because you and I, when we first met, we talked about, you used to feel energy, like when you would walk into a room. Remember how you used to feel that?
I would soak in all of the energy around me, and at the time, I didn't know it was my intuition.
Yeah.
That was like I was just leaving it wide open, and I would go in a room, and I would just be like, it would be so overwhelming.
And that's what I used to do.
Right, and you used to do that too, and that goes with intuition, and you taught me a lot about that, understanding how to turn that on and off.
Yeah.
Which is
And that's
a huge factor there.
And I feel like the resistance piece of it, feeling other people's energy.
Yeah.
When they're not happy for you or their soul isn't ready to be at that point. It's something that we need to make a conscious effort of focusing on, like, okay, I'm laser focused.
Right.
I'm in the zone. I'm going to push that to the side. Nothing to do with me. I got to keep on moving.
Right, because you could sit, like, right here where we're at in our house. We could sit here and we could sense, if we really want to, how people feel towards us. If you're highly intuitive.
Yeah.
Or we're all highly
or
intuitive.
aware
if
of
you're
it.
aware of it and you have the skill set that you've built up with it, you actually could sense people's energy. But like you're saying, what good is that to do to sit here and,
I know.
Oh, I sense that this person. Well, guess what? There's no point to even talk about it really unless
You've said it.
You can't hold it in unless you need to like go. But we want to get to a point to where you might feel it, but you're just like Lindsay says, you're laser focused on what you're doing and helping people. Like that's your focus, helping people.
Yeah.
With whatever you're doing, you're helping people, and you keep your focus there. And then when you do sense that, which it might just come in subtly when you're driving or something, or you might just feel, oh man, that person, I could feel the resistance towards me because I did that post yesterday or whatever it is. Like you might get intuitive and feel that.
Yeah.
And use that to propel you towards greater action to help people with whatever service you're doing. And at the same time, learn to change your perspective on that type of behavior. Look at it as, wait, this is not personal. This is a law of nature. That's why this is happening, because I'm growing.
And
so
this is a signpost for you to know that you're on the right track.
Right, it's a sign. So exactly, look at it as a sign saying, hey, you're rising up.
Yep.
And then, like a lot of the greatest people who walked the planet, what they said, sin, love, sin, love, sin, love. That's all you do. And yeah, of course, sometimes you don't want to sin love and you're upset about whatever the person did to you or whatever they're feeling towards you. But that's why it goes down to your daily habits on preparation. So I look at every day as like we're preparing for these experiences. And it's what you do every day to take care of your body, to take care of your thoughts, your emotions, and nutrition, and all of that on a day-to-day basis, and to get your whole mindset right to where when that does happen, it doesn't affect you because you're
on your toes
and your energy is strong.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I feel like it's so important to have that time, the time by yourself. I mean, I feel like we've been around the world with travel. We've been in other people's spaces. We've been in our own space. We've wanted to maybe kill each other during the process, but not like, okay, so Tony and I are both very similar in the way that we need our independent space too, but we can also do stuff together in the same space. So we'll go to a coffee shop and not talk to each other, but be in each other's presence, and that will be good. Tony likes to go ride his bike. I might ride my bike with him for like 15 minutes or something. 30
minutes.
30
minutes
okay,
sometimes.
30 minutes, but not hours. Like he likes to go across like the bridge and stuff, which is crazy. But that's your thing. But I think that if we can have our space and become aware of our own emotions, our own feelings in our neutral state, then we would recognize if something feels off or something feels like we're rising up. We would be so aware of that. But if you're not alone and you don't allow yourself to be alone, then you're not going to feel that.
Right.
You won't even know what you normally feel like.
Exactly. And it goes back to know yourself. One of my friend Bob, what he said about a week ago, he said, some people don't know what it feels like to be centered.
Yeah.
Some people don't know what it feels like to be all the way to where you have that connection with God or the universe cleansed, to where you just like you're making conscious contact with God.
Yeah.
Some people don't know what that feels like. So if you don't know what it feels like, it's kind of hard to get back there into the center.
Yeah.
So that's why it all goes back to the old cliche thing, know yourself, right? So you want to know yourself, and that's why you want to take time every single day to have alone time and to do your rituals. I'm huge on morning routines. I like, when I first get up, I like to do certain things when I wake up in the morning.
We should do an episode on that.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode about
morning routines
and habits like that. But looking back to it, that's because we're ready to close this podcast out here. I'll jump right into that. If I was going to give practical advice to give to people to help them prepare for the law of non-resistance, it's actually going to be similar advice that I would give for everything, and that's self-care. And if I could give you something specific, set up a morning routine. So in your morning routine, in my morning routine, it consists of working out, whether it's like basketball, lifting weights. Like today, I went and I played basketball, and then I lift weights, and then I went in the sauna and I actually meditated for about 15 minutes. Did some meditation, and then also thought about what I was grateful for, and then also my bigger vision for the next month and the next year. I kind of went through all of that process, and then along with having a healthy shake and a couple of other things I've done. But set up a morning routine to where you have these positive things that you're doing in the morning. I would suggest to have exercise as part of that, whether it's a 30-minute walk or whatever, to get your body moving and to get your blood flowing. And then also some kind of positive mindset development, whether it's reading 5 pages of mindset development, whether it's a biography or Dr. Wayne Dyer content, or it doesn't matter who it is, something
Right.
that's teaching you about that, definitely have that in there too. So
Yeah.
that would be my practical advice, because then as you do this on a day-to-day basis, you're preparing yourself every single day. You're preparing your energy. You're getting into alignment with source, to where when you go and face this resistance, it's going to be a lot easier,
Right.
in my opinion, to face.
Yeah. And that's what was building everything that you just said for suggestions would build your belief in your own self. And I think that's the most powerful thing. When you believe something about yourself, without a doubt, nobody's going to affect you. If you say, I'm leaving my job, like leaving my teaching job and going into mediumship, once I was sure of that, nothing could stop me. There was no way. I was never affected by any kind of comments people would make about that. And I think that's so important to really build up that belief within yourself. And those are the steps that you just shared that can get that belief really drilled in within you. And reading, like studying, I think that's huge.
It's so big, because when you start to see common denominators, you start to see patterns in human nature that play over. They play in everybody's life over and over. It doesn't matter if they lived thousands of years ago or today.
Right.
These same patterns play over and over, and you start to recognize these patterns the same way as if you're taking a math class and you start to recognize the patterns of math. It's clicks, right? It starts to click. You had that moment, even though math is not your best subject.
No,
Lindsay,
it's definitely not.
But you've had moments where it clicked, right?
Yeah.
I've had moments to where it clicked, and a lot of you listening have had moments to where it clicked. When you study the patterns of nature and how things kind of play out in people's lives, so whether it's studying biographies or whatever it is, well, you start to pick up on these patterns, and then
Same
it starts
things.
to click, and then your actions start to click, and then your life starts to click. And that's the process that I found that has worked for me, and that's worked for a lot of other people actually too.
Definitely. We're so glad that you listened today. We hope that you enjoyed it. And we will talk to you guys next time. Take some action steps and see what happens.
Right, because in the end, it's all about taking action with what you heard today. So we will see you guys next time.
See ya. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.